We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
And I'm Danielle.
And as you know, this is Friday. And you know what Friday is. Friday is Q&A day. It's an opportunity for you to ask your questions. So whether you're dating, in a committed courtship, engaged, or married, this is the place where you want to be for the next 30 minutes. We're going to give you power-packed information, so you need to come with it. You need to come with it. And you know what you guys do? You always wait to the last 10 minutes, and then we get 35 questions, and then you get beat. Listen, at the end of the day, the what is it called? Who gets the worm in the morning?
Early bird.
The early bird gets the worm.
So make sure you come on here ready to fire your questions at us, because we are going to hit those questions one after another. But first, I want to remind you, especially you new watchers, that we need you to like, share, and subscribe, and make sure to hit the notification bell so that you do not miss a show. Okay? Now, make sure when you come on, you let us know who you are. Say hey to us, your name, make a comment if you want to. We get to a second segment and we will read your comments, and absolutely let us know where it is that you are viewing from.
Listen, next weekend, I think it's next weekend. Maybe it's the second weekend after, but it's the 19th through the 21st. It is our last chance weekend. We've been talking about that for the last couple of weeks. It's not too late for you to get in. Transformation is possible for your life and for your relationship. All you need to do is get involved. And listen, we're happy to announce that starting this Monday, we will be appearing on Clubhouse every single day at 4 p.m. We'll call it Clubhouse Conversations, where you get an opportunity to hear from us and engage. So if you have any questions, that's the place to bring it. We'll be having a phenomenal dialogue on the Clubhouse app. So if you aren't a part of it, you need to get in it ASAP.
If you're an Apple user, I don't think it's on Droid yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, but it's coming. So either get a new phone or wait for it to come on.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Bring your questions in. We're going to get started. We have a question that came into my cell phone 6 o'clock this morning. We're going to break this thing down. It says, my husband recently discovered that he has an adult son from his ex. The boy was raised to believe that her husband was his father. They are legally married and not together. Now the truth is out. She says the boy is not ready to know him, but she wants to rekindle the relationship. She has threatened on several occasions that my husband will not ever get to know the son if they are not together. Yes, the son is an adult. However, when the husband reached out to him on social media the first time, he didn't respond. Then the second time, he blocked them. So we're unsure what the story is that she's told her son, and she said that she will not broker a meeting unless they are in a fully committed relationship. She told my husband that she had an abortion and that I had married with no children with the intention of having children with my husband. The problem is, after the initial contact, she and my husband had an inappropriate communication. He claims it was built on trust so that he could right a legal wrong. And because of that initial contact, to me, it feels like he had an affair with a child and a child came out of it. I don't care what people say, 2 years old or 24 years old, it feels the same. The worst part is that he decided to get to know the son, and he made that the only thing that he cares about. And the son is first above all, including me. We don't even talk about having kids anymore. It feels like he doesn't want any, like he's content and no longer needs me. I told him I gained the son just as much as he did, but he doesn't see it like that. So now I feel like I'm going to be the one left out in the cold. What suggestions do you have for me to cope while he maneuvers in this situation? I wonder if I should just leave him and let him have his family, because if he's mine, he'll come back. Or do I stay and hate every minute of it, knowing that I'm somewhere down at the bottom of the list? I'm not built to be the last one in his life. I guess the question is, how do I live without daily triggers and feelings of loneliness when my husband has placed literally a stranger before me with a baby mama who's using his son as blackmail in a relationship with her as a bargaining chip? FYI, my husband's mom told him to just be patient and the boy will come around when he's ready. But my husband wants it now at all costs. I just keep praying. This is a serious situation. Ooh. It requires a lot of unpacking. First of all, we've dealt with this in terms of an individual having a child that they found out about years later. That child is now 18, 24, whatever the case may be. And it can have a significant blow in the relationship because it's like, wow, where did this come from? It's like a new reality you have to deal with all over again. And so here we have in this situation, you have a mother who has a child, but tells the man, I had an abortion. So there is no child. You thought there was, but there is no child, right? And then 24 years later, you do have a child. So the child grows up thinking that her husband is the father, but the child grows up thinking that, yeah, her husband is his father. But he comes to the reality, this is not my father. I don't know my father. So now it's destroying relationships across the board.
So this woman that had this child had lied to the father, saying she aborted the child, married someone else,
yes,
and had this child believing that that was his father.
Exactly.
Now the truth is out. He knows he has a father. Does he want a relationship with the father or no? Okay,
he's attempted to contact him on social media 2 times. Now he's blocked because we don't know the story that the mother is telling that son about this guy. She could have said, well, you know what? Now that you know that that's your father, your real father didn't want you.
Yeah.
So who knows what the story is being told.
And so now this father who found out I have this 24-year-old son is hell-bent on making sure he restores this relationship. Exactly. I mean, there's a lot going on in there. It makes me think that, there's probably another storyline that was at play when it comes to the relationship that this husband had with the woman that lied and said there was an abortion. It almost seems like there's even more to it than him wanting to restore with the son, but also with the mother. But the thing is that he really has no business trying to restore anything with this woman because this son is 24, grown behind years old. He's a grown man. Okay. You don't need to ring her doorbell to get access to your grown son. Your grown son may not want to talk to you right now. And I know people personally who are in that exact situation where the father is now wanting to play a part for whatever reason, whether the mother lied or whether he didn't know about the child or what. And they have a discomfort because it's uncomfortable to try to establish a relationship with a father figure, mother figure that was not there. And maybe that place is already filled for him, the son, with this man he thought was his father.
But a part of the crazy is it's not like this guy wants a relationship with the mother. The mother, the other woman, is saying you can't have access to my son unless we get into a committed relationship, which is crazy.
Ridiculous.
This man is married for years. Now, one of the reasons why he may want access to this child because he doesn't have his own. He married his wife many years, doesn't have a child. Now he finds out he has one and wants to have that relationship.
I think the big issue is we keep saying child because I think in that husband's mind, maybe for him, it's my child, my long lost child, the one that I never knew, the son I always wanted. That child is a grown man. Yeah. And so that woman has no jurisdiction over what that son wants to do. So it's like a moot point. Like she's not even relevant. She's to the left. It's really about this husband who found out he had a son doing his work to try to connect with this son. And it's the son's choice to do so or not.
Now, what we're not sure about is if this child was conceived prior to him getting married to his wife, because it says in there they had an inappropriate conversation. It doesn't really clarify when. And so she thinks it could be an affair child.
At some point, 24 years. And how long were they married?
I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. There's a lot of questions here. But the question ultimately is, what should she do as the wife, seeing her husband wanting a relationship with the son? The son is a trigger for her. There's a lot going on here. So does she, because it seems like she went from first place to the last place from her perspective, And so the reality is, does she stay or does she leave? That's the ultimate question that she's asking.
Yeah.
And so the reality is, listen, I don't want you to make a knee-jerk reaction to leave because your world was shaken and now he has this desire to reclaim a relationship with his son. I could understand someone wanting to do that because you're like, oh my God, I have somebody out here who's a part of me. They're attached to me. And so I think that you two need to come together as a couple and be on the same page in terms of how you move forward, because we've seen how relationships have really fallen apart because the husband and the wife were on completely different pages about how to approach this child.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we encourage you to get counseling. You need to have a third party to weigh in who's not emotionally attached to the situation, who can bring a balanced perspective and guidelines to guide you through. Your marriage, I would imagine, is 24 or more years. It doesn't have to come to an end because of this incident. You can overcome it. You can get beyond it. So listen, get some help. Listen, guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We're answering your questions today. That was a doozy. But we're waiting to hear from you. So come on, get your questions in and we'll engage with you. Be right back after this break.
Well, welcome back, guys. You're watching the Couples Academy show, and today we're doing relationship Q&A. And so here's a question from Chris. What do you do after an affair? Things are going okay, but your hurt is settling in, but you're trying not to address it constantly because it frustrates the partner that cheated, but you don't feel they express their love enough to regain your love. Wow, I think that's a long sentence. There's a lot of questions in there. Here's the deal. When you're going through an affair and you're dealing with the recovery process, a huge part of it is that full disclosure so that you can get all the questions answered. You go through that process, you come to an agreement, you have an apology that is given and received so that you have a spot to move forward from. I don't think that certain topics are off the table after you go through that process. I think there are some things that are going to come up along the way because we get triggered, right? And sometimes we have these thoughts, these memories, these questions. Sometimes issues come up that we really need to address that maybe we forgot to address during the discovery phase. So I think it's really about following the rules of engagement. If you watch our show, we talked about this yesterday, learning how to approach your spouse and talk about serious issues that are still haunting you. And that person needs to be able to respond to you with a sense of, what's the word? Empathy and compassion, so that they say, okay, you know what? There was an offense here, and this person is still lacking the feeling of love. Mm-hmm. What else can I do to help with that?
There it is.
We're going to go to the next.
Yeah, let's get it.
Another comment here from Kristen. How do I trust again if so many lies and betrayals from him when he refuses to be accountable? He just wants me to forget and move forward. I have so many triggers I can't seem to forget.
Well, the reality is you can't trust again, period, point blank. If he is not repentant, if he does not change his behavior, if he is not open and honest and transparent, if he is not willing to show up different, you have nothing to hold on to begin to trust. And so the reality is you have to realize that trust is a two-way street. There's something that he has to do. There's a role that he has to play. And then you have to be open to allow him to make certain changes and to show up in a different way. But it is a two-way street. You cannot do it on your own. And if you try to blindly trust again or force yourself to trust again, then you're denying the reality of what is. And we want you to make wise decisions. Even the Bible says that wisdom is the principal thing. Get wisdom, in all thy getting, get an understanding. And this is where personal growth and development comes from. This is where some marital counseling comes from, to set things in order, because there's got to be a system of accountability with transparency in mind in order for you to regain your trust. And it happens over a period of time, not a switch that just turns on and turns off. You lost it as quick as snapping a finger or a switch going off, but to regain it, it comes from his consistency in doing the right thing.
That's a good one. D says, morning team, Dave in Philadelphia. Triggers are real. Is there any gray area to work talk through or black and white, no room to discuss. I mean, I think that's kind of like what we just discussed, right? When you have the triggers, they're real for you, right? You feel them in your body. They have not only metaphysical responses where you can become sick, literally sick, but physical responses. You can break it out into hot sweats and things and have chills. You can also have nightmares and visions and just intrusive thoughts. You can also become very numb and apathetic. Triggers are real. And so again, there is room to discuss. It's all about how you discuss. I think sometimes when we are triggered, we respond as if the trigger is the person, or we respond to the person while we're in the trigger. Have you ever seen anybody who has been in the military and they hear a loud sound and they drop to the ground because all of a sudden they see themselves back in the war and they have PTSD and they're hollering and they're screaming and they're going in, right? Everyone else is frantic. If we take a step back and recognize our triggers, and there's a process for that, for us to actually map out our triggers, what they are, when do they happen, how can I soothe them? Now we're conscious and we can go to our spouse calm, cool, and collected instead of like attacking. And I think you would have a better response.
Really quickly, listen, you've got to untrigger yourself, untrigger your environment, and untrigger your partner. Now, listen, we did a 4-hour masterclass entitled Overcoming Emotional Triggers. I would highly recommend you get it. It was amazing. There were exercises and techniques that we went through that will help you overcome those triggers. So please reach out to us and we can get that to you.
Noreen says, my spouse thinks an online affair is not really considered cheating because he did not physically do anything. How do you get past the fear of it happening again when the internet is everywhere? I feel constantly triggered.
Well, there's a lot going on here. So first of all, the fear should not be drenched in the fact that he can do it online. The fear should be drenched in the fact that he doesn't believe what he did was wrong. See, if he doesn't believe that it was wrong because it was online and he didn't physically touch her, but wait a minute, there was a connection there. There was an emotional connection, a social connection. Who knows? It could be a dark spiritual connection, but something happened. And what we know that is that, for instance, when you connect with someone who is a past partner that you've been with in the past, after 30 minutes of conversation, the feelings you once had come back. After 30 days of communication, it's very likely that that relationship will go from online to offline. So whether it's a past partner or somebody new, the reality is many people have left their spouses emotionally and socially because of online attractions. And so, yes, it is a danger. And if you don't put parameters around your marriage and around his behavior, yes, it can happen again. And it first starts with him changing his mindset. If he believes it's okay, he can justify doing it again and again and again. And that's why we need to really unpack what an affair is. And we've done a show on that in previous episodes. So make sure you check that out.
Okay, we got another comment here from Sativa. Okay, here I go. I've come to the conclusion that I'm unequally yoked with my spouse. We have young children together. He'd rather be out living fast. How do I make an escape plan? And do I pull a Black China?
So this is where I get into trouble because I don't know who. I've heard of Black China, but I don't know her situation.
I can't speak intelligently on the Black China part. But when you talk about an escape plan, it's like you're ready to abandon ship. My question is, how much work have you done to rectify? Have you been able to sit down with your spouse and see about some counseling? Is there anything that you could do together? If not, have you done anything to rectify whatever's going on with you? Because we know that it doesn't matter what the situation, we're both going through something. We both have work to do. Sometimes it really only takes one person to come into a process of counseling to better themselves. And it does. It affects your spouse. When you change, your environment change. So I wouldn't be so quick to abandon ship or suggest a plan for abandoning ship without trying to do everything that I can to see if there's hope in the marriage.
Yeah, divorce or getting out shouldn't be the first step. It should be the last step after several other things were attempted. So I agree with that 1,000%.
We got a comment here from Aura. I've forgiven my husband because God say it, but it is wrong from time to time. I check his phone. It's been 5 months. I am slowly trusting, and we are now praying every night together. But it's the trust. And I guess your question is about trust, know?
It takes time for trust to be restored. And I think many people attach so many things to forgiveness that for instance, In order for me to forgive, that means I can't have a negative thought. In order for me to forgive, I can't feel sad. In order for me to forgive, I've got to completely trust. And they're completely different. And I think we need to strip away all of these things that we've attached to forgiveness to be able to fully forgive and know that trust building is a completely different process that takes place over time. So it's a process, guys, and you need to be aware of that.
Absolutely. Young God says, should I feel some type of way when me and my wife get into an argument and she decides to go lock herself in the restroom? How should I handle that? You know, it's interesting how we handle conflict. I know how it feels to feel like I want to go lock myself in a bathroom. I told this story many times that when I was a child, when there was conflict in my home, I would go find a small place and hide. It was under the kitchen sink. I would put my hands over my ears and put my head down, and that's where I felt safe, right? So when I was a lot older and I had small children and my husband was away somewhere and I felt overwhelmed by a bunch of children, I would do the same thing. I really think we have to learn to empathize with our spouses instead of indicting them all the time. Sometimes we need to inquire that there's something going on. This person is in avoidance mode, unable to deal with conflict. Let's work on that.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Listen, guys, you're listening to the Couples Academy Show. We got one more segment. We have a lot of questions we're going to get to. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sign up today for the Better Marriage Club and receive exclusive access to the private Facebook group to get your questions answered and your problems solved. Access to our marriage library of live seminars. Watch the Couples Academy Daily Show. Call the help hotline for laser coaching. Get our weekly action guides and receive a private one-on-one call with one of our marriage coaches. To join the Better Marriage Club, simply text MARRIAGE to 973-490-4668. Join today. Your marriage deserves it.
Community.
Welcome back, guys. You're watching the Couples Academy Show, and we've got another question here from Courtney that says, does the pain ever go away? It's been about 2 years now, but it is still painful. We are doing better, and I am learning to trust him more, but the pain is still there.
Well, number one, statistics suggest that it takes upwards of 2 years for you to heal, and that is if you're getting ongoing help and assistance. It's not that just 2 years and all of a sudden the pain is gone. There's work that you have to put in. And so my question is, are you diligent? Are you persistent? Is there anything you're doing consistently? Are you working on your marriage? Are you committed to your personal growth and self-development? Are you going through a healing process? Are you engaging in effective communication with your spouse that brings about healing? Because that becomes therapeutic, just talking things out and connecting with your partner. So it is very possible that that pain can go away. Now, the memory of it won't go away, nor should you ever forget that it happened. And you know what? Sometimes there is reminders of what has happened because there'll be a trigger that will happen. Nobody says that you won't ever in your life again be triggered or think a thought, but it's how you manage those triggers and emotions. It's how you manage those conversations that determine how you move forward.
I agree with you 100%. And I would only add, if you think about how when you sail away from an island, how that island gets smaller and smaller and smaller, you still see it. Even when it's outside of your view, you still know it's there. The thing is that your distance from it, it determines how close you are to it and how you feel that pain and that frustration. So all the work that you put into recovery helps you distance yourself from the pain so that you don't have the same pain relationship with the mountain, so to speak. The next comment here is from Fadikama, okay? And it says, in a disturbed marriage after an affair, if the foundational cause is discovered and there's an effort to work on it by the offending partner, is it still necessary to get a counselor? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Go ahead.
I'm saying, so there's three things we're focusing on. Number one, we're focusing on the affair recovery, right? There's a very specific 6-step process that we take you through. But guess what? There's life after an affair. And I think that once we've overcome that hurdle, there are other hurdles to overcome because there were issues before the affair. truth be told, it's not like we were in a perfect relationship. So you need time to deal with those issues. So we focus on your marital recovery. And then, truth be told, I'm living my own life. Danielle's living her own life. We have our own individual story. There is healing that I need to do, that she needs to do. It's an ongoing effort of personal growth and self-development. So you should never, ever, ever think that you can figure this out on your own, that you're good now, you're in a good place, because trust and believe, there are seasons that you'll go through where things will happen and you need somebody guiding you through that process.
Have you ever gone a couple of days without watering your garden? Do you know what happens? Your garden begins to decline. You must continue to water your garden. And that's exactly what that is. You moving forward with counseling. Counseling and coaching, therapy is a lifelong endeavor. I don't think anybody should ever go without therapy, period. Because as soon as you stop the therapy, you start to decline. You start to go back to your old ways, or other things come into play. You always need some level of accountability.
And let me say this, maybe you work with a therapist in one area of your life,
Yes.
and you've accomplished something, and now there's other things you want to work on.
Sure.
So I'm gonna go with this coach because I want to work on this. And now that's done, I want to work with this person because they have,
Yes.
and so you're always growing and
You're
developing.
always going to the next pitch.
And you never reach your full potential until you are in the grave.
Yes.
So that there's so much more inside you that you can experience when you get somebody to support you in your journey.
So here's a question from Noreen. She says, after doing the intensive or last chance weekend, is there care that is ongoing? I'm worried that we'll be all in for the 3 days and then completely lose it once we go home and get stuck back into constant fighting. That's exactly what we're just talking about.
Phenomenal question. We just answered it, but
Yes.
we'll go a little bit deeper. We have a moving forward program, and we've been sharing with you videos that unpack that. But overwhelmingly, the majority of our couples who do either a private marriage intensive or a last chance weekend jump into that program because there's a support system. There's a community of other people who have been in the same position, and they're all striving for the same thing so that they become an accountability partner for you. We have ongoing modules that we walk you through. We have weekly calls. There's so much that we do to guide you through a process of continual growth and development. So absolutely, we've got what you need. So sign up today to stop wasting time.
Yes. Legendary says, my husband re-adds one of his social media affair partners when he gets mad at me. It feels like D-Day all over again. How do I not show the trigger so he won't be able to use it as a weapon?
First of all, how do you not show the trigger?
Thank you for taking the words off
Wait a
my
minute. So
tongue.
you're going to make things easier for him for doing the wrong thing?
And it's not trigger, because the triggers come as a result of the trauma. He is traumatizing you right there in live.
Exactly. It's a total violation and betrayal to the integrity of the relationship. And there's rules and guidelines, laws and parameters that you have to have in place for you to be in a healthy relationship. And he continues to compromise that every time he does that. So don't hide anything from him. Let him know what he's doing and go out and get some help so that he can be held accountable, you can be held accountable, and your marriage collectively can be held accountable.
You know what? The getting the help thing is key, because sometimes, we're always talking about like folks need to set boundaries, because if there is no repercussions to anything that I do, what is going to ever motivate me to change, to honor you, to respect you? Nothing, right? If every time I breach the contract, so to speak, you're forgiving, oh, well, it must be me. Oh, I'm sorry. Or what could I do better? There has to be some level of boundary set with repercussions. And we help you do that, because sometimes you just don't know how to do that. And you don't want to feel forceful. You don't want to feel like you're controlling, but you need help establishing healthy, proper boundaries with repercussions.
Absolutely.
Okay, we got another one. It says from Aura. I don't think I read this. I've forgiven my husband because God. Oh, I did read that one. Let's see. Come on, y'all, bring in the questions, because they are not coming through as much as usual. Let's see what we got. I don't think we have a question, so let's just go into a topic.
Well, we do have a question.
Here's one.
Go ahead.
My husband and I love listening to you all, and it has really strengthened our marriage. Okay, a great comment, and thank you for sharing that.
We appreciate that. Listen, we have a lot of calls that have come in, actually video questions that have come in. We'll go to one of them before we end the show.
Okay, so you and your spouse, you support one another, you encourage one another, you push one another, you help each other get through the different events and things that happen in each other's life. But what happens when you meet an area that you feel like you've done all you could and it's hard for you to help them through that period of their life? Like in the case of losing a parent, losing a sibling. What are your suggestions on that? How can the spouses still support and feel like they're contributing to helping the situation?
That's a great question. Here's the reality. In life, we all go through situations where we experience a loss of a family member or some type of devastation that we're personally experiencing, a personal private crisis. And see, that's what the power of partnership is for, because when you have a spouse who's there, they may not necessarily have the competence to help you in every single thing, but the relationship, the companionship that you have, just being a listening ear, just being there physically to show support, just praying for your partner, asking, what can I do for you today? And helping to build a support system around your partner is key. So maybe you encourage them to go to grief counseling. Maybe you encourage them to get a personal counselor. Maybe you go before a pastor. There's a level of support that you can give your spouse without having to know everything that's necessary to help that person overcome it. Just you being there is enough. The empathy and compassion that you show your partner when they're down is so critically important, because if I'm up looking down at Danielle like, what you doing? Get yourself together. Pick yourself on up. You should be beyond this by now. Then I've done more harm than good. But when she's crying and I go down with her and I mourn with her, it helps her to know that she is not alone. And that's what this thing is all about. When you said I do, you were saying I do, not just to a partner, but a companion, someone that you could do the rest of your life with to help you in your good times and your bad times.
What a perfect response to that. If somebody could just take that in and take it into action. I think a lot of times we hear, but we don't do, and we should be a doer of the word, not just a hearer.
There it is.
Right? So get busy doing those things so that you can see this fruit bloom and develop in your relationships. That's what we're here for.
Guys, you've been watching the Couples Academy show. Remember, starting on Monday, we're on Clubhouse. We're having Clubhouse conversations from 4 to 5 p.m. Ask your questions, get your answers. We hope that we can create an amazing community over there. Once again, have an amazing weekend. We have an intensive this weekend. We hope to give you a phenomenal testimonial.
We will.
We'll see you on Monday. Love you. Remember, it's February. Don't wait till Valentine's Day. Do something for your spouse in the here and now. Boom. Love you guys.
Bye,
Talk
y'all.
to you soon.